Hi there. I just want to show you what we released in release 2.22 and the changes and improvements we made to our UbiOps SaaS platform. We added a couple of things, and I'm just going to give you a quick rundown, starting with pipeline variables. Quite a few of you have asked for pipeline variables for a while, and we added them in this release. Essentially, they're a way of adding constants to your pipeline that you can use, which are not dependent on the actual input of your pipeline. So let me walk you through an example. I'm going to go to my pipeline variable example pipeline, which is at the moment just an empty pipeline. So let's drag the start and end out of each other. Okay, let's say I've got this example, the multiplication deployment, which I got here. I'll drag it in. This deployment just multiplies a number with another number. And let's say I want to multiply the input number of my pipeline with a certain multiplication factor that I can pin. So for this use case, I can use a pipeline variable where I control the multiplication factor that I use. So let's create a variable. We can create variables by heading over to the Variables tab on the Pipeline Editor sidebar. Let's go there and click Create New Variable. I can give my variable a name, so let's say I call it factor. I can decide what type it should be and what the default value should be of it. So let's give it a 3. Please note that you can use other data types than just integers. It's even possible to use files. So this can be handy if you maybe want to add a config file to your pipeline. Let's hit save. And now we can see my factors added to the canvas. So let's make sure that our multiplication factor and our input number are both connected to our multiply block. So let's drag a connection. And now here I need to make sure that I add my multiplication factor as a source as well. And then I can do the mapping. So there we go. And now we can just connect our multiply block with the pipeline end. And the mapping there is fine. And now when I hit save, I can just send a number to this pipeline, and the factor that I have here, which is set to 3, will dedicate with how much my number will be multiplied. So let's create a request, and then you can see it in action. So let's input 3, create the request. And as you can see, 3 was multiplied by 3, which makes 9. So this is just a quick rundown of how you can use pipeline variables and where you can find them. Of course, you can do much more things and much more interesting things than what I just showed you, but I hope that it gives you a little bit of grip on how to work with this new feature. Another thing that we added is that you can now inspect previous runs of your request schedule. So when you go to your request schedule, here you can now see that there are 2 tabs. There's also a tab for previous runs. When you go here, you can inspect all the previous runs that have been triggered by this schedule. So if anything goes wrong with your schedule, this will make it easy to debug and find out what's been happening to that schedule, and also if it's been running as you expected it to run. And then lastly, we also changed up our logging page. We got some feedback from you about the logging page, and especially that you want to be able to see more logs on the screen than we previously could. So we changed the styling a little bit to be able to fit more logs on the screen, which will hopefully help you in debugging and keeping track of what's happening in your project. You can also see that we made some general styling changes and also some optimizations under the hood. So we really hope that your experience of working with logs will be improved with this new release. And then there's a final note, just something small. We changed our sidebar a little bit. We took out the documentation button from here and we moved it to the top right. So if you need the documentation, make sure that you know that it's on the top right and that you always have quick access to our documentation. And also we moved our audit events, which used to be in the sidebar here, to this tab under monitoring. So the audit events are still there. They just moved to a different page. And that's actually all that I wanted to share with you today. I really hope that you will enjoy the new features that we added, and if you have any feedback on them, please don't hesitate to reach out to me and to let me know. We're always eager to hear your input.